I just found out there's a new spin doctor term that's been created by the powerful, rich elites when they don't get what they want to during a pandemic. Let's read. The still ongoing Great Resignation of 2021 started in the summertime, really amplified during October. 4 million Americans really did quit every month all over the country, reorganizing themselves into other jobs. This caused employers to decide they had to buy back the workers with, as if they were being, strong armed with college scholarships, healthcare benefits, dental benefits, paid family leave, you know, benefits like your great grandpa might have got sometime, and job security, including contracts that didn't allow them to do anything to you beyond the contract. However, the deep underworld, the deep state of the business world, decided to call it something else. They called it doing the bare minimum of work, not quitting your job, though, and threatened you with fears that it could negatively impact your work relationships and friendships or advancement opportunities. They also decided to use an economist term from 2009 and call it quiet quitting. That's the new spin doctoring of it. What is quiet quitting? Well, let's talk about 2022. Wage stagnation, poor working conditions, rising cost of living, no real increase in pay, long-lasting job dissatisfaction, lack of job security, safety concerns. But what they're calling quiet quitting is you always take your lunch and 15-minute breaks and finish your work on time and show up on time every day, doing what's required of you, precisely following safety regulations and other regulations that they're required to do so that nobody's breaking any rules, maintaining your health by avoiding occupational burnout and turning down any projects that are outside of your job duties as stated or that they're willing to admit, outside your training, job description, refusing to work for free or refusing to work in a task that you're not qualified for or in dangerous situations that are not asked for and are above your pay grade. But this is being called some sort of widespread protest. But they're making you work harder and for longer hours, and you're not getting the pay level you're supposed to get. Or they put you in a situation where you could be at risk of being hurt and they won't cover your insurance. So what was the horrible thing done to these poor? Well, people think of the billionaires. They had to actually give you what you asked for and not break the fucking law. They complained about you following safety regulations, not working for free outside of the job, teachers refusing to show up when they weren't being paid. Same thing with nurses, doctors, truckers, military people saying if you don't pay me, I'm not required to show up for work because that's actually what it says on paper. Garbage workers saying, I'm not on strike, you haven't paid me. I have to earn a living. I need money. You're not paying me. Or people saying, I'm in a right to work state. You can fire me at any time. I can quit at any time. I have no job security. I'm going to move to a state where that doesn't exist. Teachers are refusing to work as teachers in your state or county because you're not paying them as much as they can get somewhere else, or they can move somewhere where they won't have to deal with people treating them like shit. And this Great Resignation of 2021 that happened in like April and then peaked in October was really 4 million workers churning. Churning is when you see a loss, only you see it, and some other business suddenly gets 4 million workers or whatever, or business type, or people are willing, because they can't afford to pay anything anymore, to move out of a town that's overpricing them out. I'm currently living in a city where I'm able to live because things were open. I was at one time homeless in Portland, Oregon, and it was extremely easy because there's lots of businesses open. You just had to have some money and just lower your standards for expensive stuff. Just don't buy expensive stuff. But I could still make money working, and I could pay my way sometimes or most of the time, depending on the time of year. But but there was a slowdown because there's a fucking pandemic. I didn't cause the slowdown, the world did. But there's a similar thing that happened in China. They call it something ping or something. Uh, they're adopting a hippie lifestyle because the punishments that would be meted out by the Chinese government isn't enough to make them work 12-hour days, 6 days a week with one day off, and they're still asked to come in on their day off, and they're always made to work more than their 12-hour shift, or they're made to do double shifts. 72-hour minimum working for the state, really? And they're doing another thing where they actually go out of their way to request work at places that are failing and then actually follow labor laws that forbid them from working those hours and just refuse to change their work hours. And everybody else refuses to work there, so they can't fire them. So the evil institutions that are working people to death that are already collapsing completely collapse, so the government has to come in and reorganize again, making their head leaders have to make the Chinese Communist government look good by claiming that they did wrong think. I mean, literally, it's like out of 1984. They're paraded in front of microphones and cameras to talk about how they sinned against the Communist People's Republic and stuff, thereby actually punishing the people who really drove the workers to this. Now, I'm not a unionizer. That should be, somebody needs to do a song, the Britney Spears song, but instead of womanizer, it says unionizer. Anyway, I'm not a union guy. I'm not. Every job I've had, I benefited from unions. I admit it, because they existed long before I did, and they did all the skull bashing they had to make it to where I had it good. But I couldn't join unions because most of the time I had jobs. I either had a job where I was making a lot of money and there was no union, or I was earning so little I couldn't pay the union. So I didn't. So I didn't get paid as good because the union people got paid better because they actually went ahead and were willing to go to strike, And I, if I could afford to, I didn't go in. You're not a union person. Sympathy strike. Because if they benefit, I benefit. Can't pay them the wages, but can't pay them the dues, but I'm out here picketing. I mean, and seriously, a whole building full of hackers walks outside to support the schmucks who are just pushing carts around, mopping floors, and keeping the electricity on and keeping the water working. And yeah, I think you need to just stop not paying them correctly. I mean, come on. But getting mad at workers for literally following federal and state laws at your business because that's actually required and refusing to work themselves to death during a pandemic where everybody's fucking stressed and the economy's going to shit. I like to point out that the economy is actually improving, jobs are improving, the gas prices are dropping, but all of the conservative assholes that went around putting I did that Biden stickers are now trying to scrape them back off because it keeps dropping. They're your fair weather friends, or your end of the world predictors, just like all of them. But I did think this was kind of funny that the spin doctoring started all the way back, what was it? 2009, September 17th, an economist decided to call it quiet quitting. It's not quiet quitting. It's doing your job actually as stated and not with a wink and a nudge where you're supposed to work, extra hours and not take breaks. I got told something, not this, but I had a job where they're like, well, you're taking your breaks on time. And I'm like, has the corporate entity convinced you that me not being as miserable and suicidal as you is somehow a detriment to your existence? I was talking to my boss. I'm like, you're a chronic alcoholic and you hate your job and you want to kill the boss. He didn't quit. He went into AA. He became a higher ranking person, put money away, and quit when it would fuck up the company worst. A couple of months after I did, because they kept trying to work me to death. They didn't allow me to have 1 second between calls. They funneled all the calls to me to try to get me to quit. So I did. I did it when it was happening organically, meaning they needed everybody. A large number of us quit. And we also quit in the department that was actually keeping them from, losing any money. We were revenue loss preventers. So they spent the entire week trying to train people to do something they didn't know how to do that most of us have a natural tendency for. Cross-referencing accounts that are stealing large amounts of money electronically, making the corporation very much a partner in wire fraud. And they needed us very badly, but they wanted to work us harder, and they got vindictive for a few weeks. We went through it, and then when a rush came through of a fuck ton of credit card transactions that were absolutely fraudulent, and they were yelling at us, you already proved your point. Well, this is real. Oh, it wasn't real before? You're admitting it? That's not the point. Now I'm quitting. And work centers on the East and West Coast left. They lost a ridiculous amount of money. They couldn't get the money back. They had to eat the cost and refund people. The criminals got the money, and everybody they absconded with got the money before they knew it. Because they couldn't track the money after that point, because we weren't sitting on every account tracking every hacker. A couple of hundred of us quitting on each coastline cost them 100 million. I have no regrets. That's active malicious behavior. But again, it's a right to work state in Oregon. Every one of them was right to work states. So you advocated for that, and you didn't know you could get a bit on the ass. It's not quiet quitting. It's not being someone's bitch. Act your wage. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Good luck.